गुड मॉर्निंग रोहित, गुड मॉर्निंग राकेश। आ रहा आवाज? ओके ओके। गुड मॉर्निंग अर्चना। The class will start at 11:15. Good morning, Sai Charan. Good morning. Good morning, Santosh. Good morning, Chandan. Good morning, Tarun. Darshak, Sai Darshak, good morning. Good morning, Pavitra. Good morning, Vignesh. Now I can tell Subha Odyam, right? Good morning, Vignesh. Sumarth, good morning. Sumant, good morning. Subhodhyam. Shiva Balaji, good morning. Good morning, Reddy. Good morning, Vani, Chandrasekhar. Good morning, Nani. Good morning. I am good. I am good. How about you? Good morning. Good morning, Vani. Fine, good. Good morning, Anusha. Yes, good morning. Good morning, Vani. Vani, how, sir, did you have? Yeah, I had already taken. What about you? Yes, I have done. Thanks. I have done. I have done. Okay, good. Good morning, Vijaya. Vijay. Good morning. Hanok, good morning. So how is your study going on? Are you enjoying it? Are you guys enjoying it? Well, sir. Okay, great, great. You are going to learn so many things, and as well as their application, how to solve problem. You will be knowing so many concepts. Yes, sir. We are enjoying. Great, Rakesh. Varnuka, good morning, Varnuka. Full enjoying. Okay. Till now, assignments are not given to you, right? That is why. So, what's the difference between JEE Advanced? See, mains, the main exam, the JEE main exam is your first stage. So, the level of questions is little bit easier as compared to advanced. They ask in advanced exam, they ask little bit more in the depth. Okay, so after clearing mains, you will be able to write advanced. So first you have to get good marks in mains, then only you will be able to write advanced. The mains exam is conducted by NCERT or NCERT, you can say, on the basis of NCERT, but advanced exam is beyond, bit beyond NCERT level. It is mainly conducted by some IIT. So actually, in which topic are you there, sir? I joined yesterday only. Do not worry, we are just covering 9th and 10th basics. Might be after 2-3 classes, we will be starting our mole concept. After 2 and 3 classes, okay? So in the last class, basically we have studied about matters on the basis of their chemical properties. Okay, so on the basis of chemical properties, we have classified the matters into elements. We have classified into pure substances and mixture. Basically, we have classified into pure substances. And mixtures. The purity, the notion of purity, okay, the notion of purity in case of chemistry is based on the constituent particles. If all the constituent particles are same, all the basic fundamental constituent particles are same, then we will say it is pure. Okay, but in case of mixture, there might be more than one constituent particle, right? So pure substances can be further subdivided into elements and compounds. Okay, so generally elements are made up of simple atoms. Okay, the units through which they are made up, they cannot be further subdivided. So elements are the purest substances, right? Then compounds are made up of more than one elements in a definite ratio. Yes, good morning Niharika, Hinduja. Okay, I'll be telling you metal and non-metals also. So the difference between element and compound is that compound is made up of more than one element. Okay, but in a fixed ratio. The ratio will be fixed. Okay, we have given the example, we have taken the example of H2O. In the case of the H2O, 2 moles of hydrogen and 1 mole of oxygen is going to combine, right? So compounds are also classified under pure substances, but they are made up of more than 2 elements. But okay, sir, say example. Yes, I am telling you, and for elements the examples are metal, non-metals and metallides, right? For example, the examples of metals are sodium, potassium, rubidium, lithium, helium, argon. All the noble gases will be classified under non-metals. Then chlorine, fluorine, they are also under non-metals. Metallides, arsenic, antimony, germanium. We have already written all the examples in the notes also. So these are our pure substances. In the cases of pure substances, the constituent particle will remain same. But mixture, more than one element, more than 2 compounds, mixed in any proportion. They are just simply mixed. There is no chemical reaction occurring between them. They are just mixed and no loss or gain of energy takes place in case of mixtures. Right? We have also understood the difference between compound and mixtures. The compound and mixtures, both of them are made of more than one substances. In case of substances, mixing will take place in a fixed ratio. So in case of compounds, mixing takes place in fixed ratio. So you don't have to remember all these things. These things are very simple. You will automatically come to learn them or understand them. So just listen and try to remember these things by keeping in your mind some examples. You take 1 or 2 examples, you will be able to remember all those things. In case of compounds, the ratio is fixed. For example, H2O, NaCl. Okay. If you want to segregate or separate the constituent particle, the hydrogen and oxygen in water, you cannot do it by simpler method or some physical method. Or to break NaNCl, you cannot do it by your own or by simple methods. But in case of mixtures, they are mixed in any proportion. They are mixed in any proportion. And the examples are sand and sugar. Pen and pencil. Okay, you mix them in any ratio and they can be easily separable, right? So this is mixtures. And there was one important property that after the formation of compound, they do not retain, after the formation of compound, they do not retain the properties of their constituent substances, right? They do not retain the properties of their reacting mixture. From there they have made up. Like water will not be able to retain the property of hydrogen or oxygen. But in case of mixture, if you mix water and milk, the property of resulting solution, the property of resulting mixture will be having traits of the water as well as milk, right? So these are some basic difference between compound and mixtures, and I think that's enough. Then later we understood about metal and non-metal. Metal and non-metal becomes important for 11th and 12th class. If you have seen the periodic table, all of you are having periodic table. All of you are having periodic table. Have you got the periodic table or not? Have you got the periodic table or not? No, you need to buy a periodic table, or you need to have a periodic table on your phone. You must be having a periodic table. Okay, so here you will see hydrogen, then you will see lithium, then you see sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, right? Similarly, you will see beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, and barium. Okay, so today I am telling you about, yes, these. Then there are also beyond cesium, there is also some element, but at least these 5 you must remember, and these are known as alkali metals. So they are metals. They are metals. And these are known as alkaline earth metal. Alkaline earth metals. So I want all of you to remember at least these before coming into next class. Yes, francium. Okay, francium will be there beyond cesium. Okay. Okay, but that is radioactive in nature. So it's okay. You should remember all these: lithium, potassium, sorry, lithium, sodium. This is lithium, this is sodium, this is potassium, this is rubidium, and this is cesium. You should have periodic table, and mark these elements over there and try to look at them and try to remember their atomic number and mass number. Okay, I expect you all to remember all these atomic number and mass number of few elements, okay, before going into our first chapter, that is mole concept. Then these are alkaline earth metal. So these are metals. Okay, these are metal. What is the difference between alkali? See, the difference between alkali and alkaline metal, we will be studying them in when we will be studying S block. These two categories comes under S block. Both of them are basic in nature. These are more. These compounds are having only one extra electron. Okay, so for now you are not supposed to learn the difference between two. But once we will start S block, we will be understanding the difference. Bhavani, right? Is that okay? You first just remember the names: beryllium, magnesium, calcium. That there will be difference between their density, there will be difference between their electronic configuration, there will be difference between their hardness, their metallic character. So all these things we will be learning in detail. So these are metals. So generally in a periodic table, if we see in a periodic table, you will find metals over here. These will be metals. In the left hand side, you will find metals. Okay, in the left hand side of the periodic table, you will find metals. Then also you will here find out non-metals. Generally non-metals. Then there also you will find metals. It's general. I am just telling you, if you look at any periodic table, you will find on the left hand side metals, then at the bottom also metals. In this corner you will find non-metals. Okay, then there is another one, F block. There also you will find metals, right? So you should understand how periodic table is made. Okay, and where we have kept metals and where non-metals are kept in the periodic table. For now you just know this. Okay, is that okay? So generally metals, you all know about the properties of metals. They are sonorous. If you beat them, they'll produce a sound, particular sound. Then they are lustrous. They will be having shiny surface. Apart from that, they are malleable. What is the difference between malleability and ductility? You must remember the difference between malleability and ductility. These are some confusing words. Okay, in IIT JEE or mains, they will not going to ask all these things, but at least you should know. Malleability means you can transform them into sheets, and ductility means wires. Nice. Ductility means you can draw them into wires. Okay, fine. Okay, so these are some properties of the metal and non-metals. Generally metals are solid in nature and non-metals will be present in gases. So I will be asking some questions regarding metals and non-metals. These two column, okay, in a periodic table, if you put elements in vertical direction, then they will be known as column. And if you put elements in a horizontal direction, then this is known as row. So you understand, this is column, and this is row. Okay, go and see the periodic table. Okay, and try to remember few elements. So generally metals are good conductor of electricity. Okay, so metals are good conductor of electricity as well as heat. So do you know any non-metal which is conductor of electricity? Non-metal which is conductor of electricity. See, water is not an element. Water is a compound. Water is a compound. You must remember, water is a compound. Okay. Water is a compound. Water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. So the answer is graphite. So there are some elements. I know elements till 45. Would be, yes, that is more than sufficient for now. Okay. See, graphite is made up of carbon. No, lead is metal. Lead is metal. Yes, graphite is made up of carbon. So graphite is the answer. See, graphite, carbon and coal, they are all made up of carbon only. Okay. So a compound, any substance which is made up of same atoms but different structures is known as allotrope. Do you understand? Do you understand this term allotrope? Allotrope means made up of same atom but different structure, right? Made up of same element or same atoms, made up of same atoms but having different structure. For example, carbon exists in diamond. You must have known diamond is made up of carbon. Then graphite. Then there is fullerene. Right? These are all allotropes of carbon. We have studied that in our 10th class. Okay, I am just discussing some few basic terms. Yes, I have given the example. Carbon, the allotropic form of carbon are diamond, graphite, fullerene. In the 12th class, you will be learning about other allotropes as well. So these are not element. Beta, first you have to understand it should be made up of only one element. That's one atom only. Nitrate is, this is nitrate. This is nitrate. And this is nitrite. So they are not allotropes. They are basically ions made up of more than one element. Yes. Okay. So, see, a diamond will be made up of only carbon. Graphite will also be made up of only carbons. Their arrangement of carbons will be different. The arrangement of carbon will be different, and because of that, their properties, chemical and physical properties, might differ. So that is the one thing. Okay. So you should understand allotropes. So non-metals which is conductor of electricity is graphite. Shall I remove it? Should remember allotrope. In 12th class, we are going to study the various allotropic forms of sulfur as well as phosphorus in detail. Okay, so there is phosphorus which exists in. Sir, will you explain about isotope? I have already discussed about isotopes and isotone. Did I? And if okay, I will be discussing it. Okay, maybe in next or class after tomorrow's. So let us now understand. We were studying mixtures, right? Pure substances we have covered. Okay, we have covered pure substances. Now we are discussing mixtures. It can be of homogeneous nature or heterogeneous nature. Homogeneous means after the mixing, there will be no clear separation between the constituent substances. If it is made up, all the mixtures will be made up of more than one substances. So if you mix them, then after the mixing, you will not be able to differentiate. For example, if you add sugar into water, sugar into water. Okay, after adding the sugar, if once the mixture is prepared, then you will not be able to see the particles of sugar even with the very strong microscope. So that is one thing. In case of heterogeneous, you will be able to see the clear separation between the constituent substances. Okay, if you mix sand with iron nails, you will clearly able to differentiate. You will clearly, yes, oil in water, very nice example, oil in water. Okay, so this is some basic differences between the homogeneous and heterogeneous. Once you have prepared, it will appear like there is only one constituent. There will not be clear separation between the mixing substances. Okay, in case of homogeneous, after the formation, just try to remember the example. Just try to remember the example. Homogeneous mixtures are those mixtures. Homogeneous mixtures are those mixtures in which after mixing you will not be able to differentiate between them by your naked eyes. Okay, you cannot differentiate them. You will not find any clear separation between the particles. But in this case, you will be seeing clear difference. Okay, there are many examples. Alloys also come under this thing. Basically, what we do, we melt two metals and mix them. Okay, brass, zinc, brass and tin. You can remember these two, brass and bronze. Brass is made up of zinc and copper. It is made up of tin and copper. This is what you have studied in your 10th class, 10th standard. Okay, so have you understood the difference between homogeneous and heterogeneous? Have you understood the difference between homogeneous and heterogeneous? Okay. And just remember, try to remember the examples of these two and the meaning. Hetero means different phases, different. We need to understand the difference between solution, collide, the next topic. Okay, the next basic thing is solution, collides, and suspension. So which of these three are homogeneous in nature? Any one of you? Which of these three are homogeneous in nature? I think solution, okay. 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 Solution. Actually, all of these three are the types of solution only. These three are types of solution only. But this is basically true solution. True solution, it is homogeneous in nature. This is homogeneous. It looks like homogeneous as well as it is in nature. It is by nature homogeneous. Okay. So solution, example, the size of particle is very small in this case. The size of particle is very small. Okay. Do you understand what is milli? Do you understand what is milli? Micro, nano, angstrom. Do you understand these terms? Pico, some basic terms. Do you understand these terms? Tiny, small, yes, tiny. Milli is 10 raised to minus 3. Micro is 10 raised to minus 6. This is 10 raised to minus 9. This is 10 raised to minus 10. This is 10 raised to minus 12. So milli will be represented by small m. Micro is represented by mu. This is mu. Okay. You just note it down. Nano, small n. Angstrom by this term. A. Pico by small p. You just write them down. If I am writing millimeter, it means 10 raised to minus 3 meter. If I am writing micrometer, it means 10 raised to minus 6 meter. If I am writing milligram, then it is 10 raised to minus 3 gram. Is it okay? 1 milligram means 10 raised to minus 3. If you see on the paracetamol, you will find it 500 mg, right? Or some fruit juice, okay, packed fruit juice, you will find that it contains 10 milligram of protein. It means it contains 10 raised to minus 3 grams. Okay, similarly, you can write 1 micrometer. It's very small and it will be written as 10 raised to minus 6 meter. So these are few terms you must know. These are some few terms you must know. Once you have written this, please let me know. We will proceed and we will understood what is the difference between solution, colloids and suspension. See, this we will study in 12th class. There is separate chapter known as surface chemistry. We will study this in detail, very detail, all the properties. You must also have studied it in 9th class, but once again we will be going to study colloids in 12th class. This topic will also be studied in 12th class. This is a very simple topic. We will finish it today and there is nothing important to remember this. Okay. So you have written all this. Okay, great. Bagundi. So if you suspension is heterogeneous. This is heterogeneous. Okay, I will be providing you notes, so do not worry about these things. Just I am writing keywords. So suspension is heterogeneous in nature. What do you mean by heterogeneous? You mean that if you see this suspension, you will by your eyes only able to differentiate between the two different things. Okay, the constituent particle. For example, if you add sand into the water and for some time, yes, there will be clear separation of particles. Okay, so it is not stable. Okay, heterogeneous, clear separation between the particle. The size of particle is very large as compared to these two. It is around size of particle will be greater than 10 raised to minus 7 meter. Okay, 10 raised to 7 minus 7 meter. Good morning. Right? So it will be more than 10 raised to minus 7 meter. In this case, size of particle will be lesser than 10 raised to minus 10 meter. 10 raised to minus 10. Even with the powerful microscope, you will not able to see the particles. Okay, even with the powerful microscope, you will not be able to see the particles. So, see, all of the solution, colloids, and suspension will be having at least two constituents. Because they are example of mixtures. So there will be two things. One is solute, another is solvent. So I think you must be knowing about these things, solute and solvent. Do you understand by the term solute and solvent? Do you understand by these terms, solute and solvent? Solute is any substance which is added into other thing. Suppose solute is sugar and solvent is water. Very nice. If you add sugar into water, okay, so then water is solvent and sugar is solute. Generally, anything which is present in larger amount is known as solvent. Okay. Milk and water, depending upon, if you are adding little of milk into water, then water will be solvent and milk will be solute. Okay. So things which are added known as solute. Okay. So solute and solvent, some basic concept. So I think you must be knowing about these two things. Okay. So this is homogeneous. Once you have mixed the solute and solvent, you will not be able to differentiate between the two, even with the powerful microscope. Depending upon quantity, the solute and solvent. Yes. Depending upon the quantity also. Okay. But we will decide this on the basis of moles. A thing which is having larger moles will be termed as solvent. Yes. A solution can have more than one solute. You can add sugar as well as salt into water. Okay, fine. In this case, it looks like homogeneous. It looks like homogeneous, but it is heterogeneous in nature. What do you mean by this statement? This statement tells that if you see by your naked eye, you will not be able to clearly differentiate between the particles. You will not be able to clearly differentiate between the particles. You will not see any clear separation between the particles. But with the help of microscope, you will be able to see the constituent particles. If you took microscope and put this colloidal solution under it, you will be able to see the constituent particle. So that is why this is known as homogeneous. Oh, sorry, heterogeneous. So this is also heterogeneous. This is also heterogeneous. The particle size in between, the size of particle will be greater than 10 raised to minus 10 and lesser than 10 raised to minus 7. Now another thing. Yes, both of these two things are not stable. Both of these two things are not stable. It is unstable. If you put sand into water, and keep it for 2 seconds, all the particles of the sand will precipitate at the bottom of the container. Did you get it? The difference between colloids and suspension? Suspension, it is unstable and it requires a stabilizer. With the help of stabilizer, colloids can be kept for long, greater than or lesser than. Yes. Is that clear for all of you? We will be understanding about these many properties, like it shows Tyndall effect. Its particle shows Brownian motion. Its particle shows electrophoresis. All these properties we are going to study in the 12th class. So for now, is it clear? It is stable. This is stable. All the types of, there are different types of colloids. There are different kinds of colloid. Aggregate, okay, large number of particles, like you add cellulose solution. So this is an example of colloid. Okay. You must have understood micelle formation, right? Soap into water. This is also an example of colloid. Emulsion. Okay, emulsions. So is it clear? Ice cream. There are many examples. Okay. So is it clear? Shall we move ahead? If you want me to repeat anything, I will repeat it. If you want me to repeat anything, I will repeat it. See, colloids are made up of two things. One is dispersed medium and the other is dispersion medium. These two terminology you should understand. Colloids. Dispersed phase and dispersion medium. It is very much similar to solute and solvent. It is very much similar to solute and solvent. Dispersed phase is the things which is dissolved. Okay, the things which is dissolved. And it is a medium which provides the medium into which it is dissolved. Okay, so there is very basic differences. The dispersed phase is similar to solute and dispersion medium is similar to solvent. So it is similar to solute and it is similar to solvent. Okay, the constituent particle which is providing the medium is known as dispersion medium. So tell me which part of the previous thing I need to explain, Satvika. Tell me which you want me to explain. Did you get it? What is dispersion and disperse medium? You have to name the topic or concept. Colloids. Colloids are the basically mixtures in which two or more than two things are mixed, but the size of particle is in between this range. If a particle in this range you cannot see by your naked eyes, but with the help of microscope you will be able to see the constituent particle, and they are not stable. If you kept them, for example, your medicine, the liquid medicine, okay, the doctor says liquid medicine also sometimes be example of colloids. In this case, the colloids will be having, see, I have given example, cellulose solution. Cellulose, the size of the cellulose is large. Gold solution. If we prepare solution of gold, then it is also colloid. Okay. Gold solution. So they contain the particle in the size of this range, which is not visible by soap and water solution, right? Soap and water solution, you must have studied micelle formation. Okay, in that case also we see if we add little bit of soap, then it will be true solution. But after certain concentration, if we increase its concentration, it will behave as colloid. We will understand it in detail. So shall we move ahead, or you want me to repeat any other thing? So the basic difference is on the basis of size. Okay, and and on the basis of size, they looks like heterogeneous or homogeneous. Okay, great. Do you understand what is saturated solution, unsaturated solution, supersaturated solution? Do you understand these terms? See what happens. There is one term known as solubility. How will you define solubility? Any one of you? How will you define solubility? How will you define solubility? Capacity of dissolved. Very nice. Very nice. Yes. We can write it. maximum amount of solute which can be added into a given solvent. See, solutions can be segregated. Basically, solution can be subdivided into two types. One is aqueous solution. Very important term. Another is non-aqueous solution. Non-aqueous solution. So what do you mean by aqueous and non-aqueous? Aqueous solutions are those solutions in which solute can be anything. But solvent is fixed. Solvent will be water. Okay. A solution in which one component is fixed and that component is water, then this solution will be known as aqueous solution. And in non-aqueous solution, neither solvent will not be water. It can be any other thing. Solvent can be any other thing like CCl4, benzene, naphthalene. Okay. So non-aqueous solution, in this type of solution, the solvent will be other than water, something other than water. So if there is written aqueous solution, okay, so you understood, you should get the understanding that you are mixing something into the water. So that is known as aqueous solution. Is it okay? Aqueous and non-aqueous is okay with all of you? Is that clear? What is aqueous and non-aqueous? Yes, okay, fine. So now we are understanding solubility. So as we have studied in the first lecture, that matter is made up of large number of particles. And all the particles will be having spaces between them. Must be having some spaces between them, and these spaces increases as we move from solid to liquid and liquid to gases. Gases are having maximum spaces, liquid moderate. So if we add something into liquid or into any other substance like gas or liquid, then this solute goes into the spaces. It goes into the spaces, okay, spaces between the liquid particles. So that is how we solubility define. Then there is some limitation. After that limitation, if you add more solute, then that solute will not be dissolved or it will get precipitated. So the maximum amount of solute which can be added into a given solvent will at given temperature, at given pressure and temperature, is known as solubility. So have you understood this concept, solubility? For example, if you add sugar into water, after a certain time you will see that more sugar cannot be added. After a certain time, if you add more sugar, then it will get precipitated at the bottom. Okay. Let's say this is a glass of water. If you start adding sugar into it, it will get dissolved. You will not able to find out the particles of sugar. But after a certain time, the sugar particles will be getting deposited at the bottom. So the moment at which it is getting deposited will tell you about the maximum amount of solute. So have you understood this concept, solubility? It can be understood on the basis of how much solvent you are taking. It might be 100, 1 liter. Okay. Effect of temperature and pressure. Very important concept. Effect of temperature. First, on solid and liquids. Let's say our solute is solid or liquid. Very important. Everyone must focus here. If you're adding some solid solute into the solvent, if you increasing its temperature, then solubility will increase or decrease? Tell me. The solubility will increase or decrease? Why will solubility will increase? Why? Anyone? Why will it increase? Yeah, the answer is right. The solubility of solid and liquid into a liquid solution increases on increasing the temperature. Why will it increase? Okay, the solubility increases on increasing the temperature. It is because, yes, very nice. Sai Charan has given the correct answer. It is because the gaps between the particles increases. Yeah, it starts dissolving because the gaps between the particles increases. So there is more space. As space between the particles increases, more number of solute particles can fit there, right? Previously, at this temperature, the gaps between particle was like this. But as you increase the temperature, the gaps between the particles increases and more number of particles get dissolved into it. Is it clear? Gaps between the particles increases. किन के gaps? Solvent का. Gaps between the solvent particles increases. So yes, if you increase temperature, the solubility will increase, but on decreasing the temperature, the solubility will decrease. Yes. So is that clear? Is that clear? Is that clear? Yes, sir. Okay. Now the impact of temperature on solubility of gases into solution, yeah, into liquid solution. The solubility of gases into liquid solution. It decreases with, solubility decreases with increase in temperature. Solubility decreases with increase in temperature. It is because as you increase the temperature, the gaseous particles get more energy, and due to that energy, their motion increases. And as their motion increases, they moves out of the solution. Okay, they will get on increasing the temperature, their energy increases, and as energy increases, the motion of the particles becomes fast. The motion of particles become fast, and they try to escape from the solution. Is it clear? So on increasing temperature, kinetic energy of gases particle increases. Leads to more escaping from solution. Is it okay? Is it okay? Can you differentiate? Explain one. See, in the first case, as there is solid and liquids, the energy of particles is very less. Okay, if you increase certain amount of, if you provide certain amount of heat, their energy will not change much. Okay, in this case, the energy of particles will not increase very much up to large extent because they are already in solid and liquid state. But the gap between particles increases, in this case, in the first case. So as the gaps between the particles increases, it provides more space for the incoming solute particles. As more space is available for incoming particles, so the solubility increases. Right? Is it okay? The first concept is okay, Kruti? Yes, okay, fine. Yeah, here you have to focus on gaps. But here the kinetic energy of particle is not much impacted because they are in solid and liquid state. So effect of temperature is not much on their motion. But in this case, as there is one constituent is gases. So if you increase, they are more vulnerable to temperature change. If you increase the temperature, their motion increases rapidly. And as their motion increases rapidly, they will try to escape from the solution. If they are not remaining in the solution, so it means their solubility decreases. Is it okay? Is it okay? Yes, yes, okay, okay, fine. So these two things are very important. You must write it down. Okay, at least you should know the result. It is a very important concept of we are going to, we will also be studying Henry's law in 12th class. Henry's law regarding this. Not for this, not for temperature effect नहीं, pressure के लिए हम लोग पढ़ेंगे Henry's law. You note it down. You note it down. Or take the screenshot. You can also experiment this thing at your home. You add a sugar, you add sugar, and after a certain time you will find that more sugar cannot be added because it is getting precipitated. But if you raise the temperature, you start a burner and put that solution over there and add more sugar, the more sugar can be added into the solution. Do you know what is exothermic and endothermic? Do you know what is endothermic and exothermic? Yes, sir. This is an endothermic process. Solubility of solid and liquid is endothermic process. As I have already told, endo means the process in which energy is required. Yes, exo means exit. Great Akshay. जो भी नाम है आपका, Alsya. Exo means exit. Yes. But in this type of, it requires energy because if we are providing energy, the process is moving in forward direction. In this case, on absorbing heat, the solubility is increasing. So it is an example of endothermic process. You can also remember that. Effect of pressure. Effect of pressure. Very simple. First case is solid on liquid. If you are adding solid and liquid in a solution, to prepare a solution, if you increase pressure, you will see there is no significant difference, or there will be no significant difference on the solubility of solid and liquid. No significant impact. Impact on solubility. Why is it so? Because solids and liquids do not possess large spaces. Their spaces is already very less. So on increasing pressure and temperature up to certain extent, there will be no change. So the solubility of solid and liquid does not change much with on changing pressure. So pressure, we can simply put it like this: pressure has no effect on the solubility of solid and liquid into a solution. Then second is gases. Yes, if you put more pressure, the more oxygen or gas will get dissolved. It can also be studied using Henry's law. Henry's law. On increasing pressure, solubility increases. Why we are using oxygen cylinder? Why we are using oxygen cylinder? It is because oxygen cylinder is having larger pressure. So due to larger pressure, the oxygen is getting, we need more oxygen in corona times, COVID times. If we are infected with COVID virus, then at that time we need more amount of oxygen. So we are not able to extract that much oxygen from the atmosphere. So we require separate device which is kept at more pressure. Yes, due to compressibility. Yes, great. Due to compressibility, here is more scope. You can compress gaseous particle up to a large extent, and due to this compressibility, due to this possibility of compressibility, they can be dissolved up to large extent by increasing the pressure. So you will be understanding many concepts. If you go deep into the ocean, due to the pressure of the water, more oxygen get dissolved or more number of gases dissolved into your body. What? No? What happened, Akshay? Is there any doubt? Okay. So we were understanding, next thing we were understanding unsaturated, saturated and supersaturated solution. Saturated and supersaturated. Unsaturated is a solution in which more solute can be added. A solution in which more solute can be added. Yes, not satisfied. You can say, you can remember like that. In which more solute, in which there is possibility to add more solute. There is possibility to add more solute. More solute. Without getting precipitated. Precipitation नहीं होना चाहिए. It is not required. Plasma, I have already told, plasma constituents particles at very high temperature. You just remember that very high temperature. It is found in stars. Bose-Einstein particles are just opposite of that, at very low temperature. Yes, saturated means satisfied, right? There is always capacity of every solution. If you add up to that capacity, then it is known as saturated solution, or you can remember it satisfied solution with required solute and solvent. Right. Maximum amount of solute has been added. Maximum amount of solute is added. Solute is added on further addition. It will get precipitated. So someone has said this is unsatisfied. Yes, very correctly you have put it. It is unsatisfied. And this is satisfied. After this, if you add more solute, it will get precipitated, right? It does not require more solute. If you add more, it will get precipitated. Supersaturated solute is present more than its capacity, greater than capacity of solvent, right? If you added more than excess solute, yes, excess solute. Okay. So if you start adding sugar into solution, initially it is unsaturated. Okay. It is unsaturated. It also happens with us also. If I am teaching, up to certain extent you are available, you are able to, you are ready to accept more number of concepts, you are ready to solve more number of numerical, then there is a point, at that point you will get saturated. Okay, after that whatever I am telling you, it is, you are just listening it but not understanding it. So what I want to tell you, you have to increase your capacity, you have to enhance your listening power, you have to increase your patience, so that more number of concept or for larger number of time you can you are able to understand, or you are able to present actively, or you are able to participate actively in the class. Okay, so I think these concepts are clear: unsaturated, saturated, and supersaturated. If any one of you are having any doubt, please let me know. Now, for example, 23 gram of salt, NaCl, can be added into 100 gram of water. 100 gram of water. Just for example. Okay. So up to 23 gram. Let's say you have added 15 gram. Then it is unsaturated. If you added 18 gram, then also it is unsaturated, because you can add more. But once you reach at the level of 23 gram, then this will be known as saturated solution. After that, if you add more salt into the water, then it will get precipitated. It will get precipitated at the bottom. Do you understand by the term precipitated? Yes, in the super saturated solution, the solute get precipitated. Yes. So if you are adding 27 gram, so 23 gram will remain in the solution phase. The remaining salt will get precipitated at the bottom. Is it okay? Is it okay? Whatever I have told today, saturated, supersaturated, solubility. The important concept was solubility. The most important concept of today's class was solubility. You have to remember that, you have to understand it. Solubility. Okay, I want more responses. Just quickly. We have to finish the class. Okay, okay, I want more responses. Did you get it? Yes, it was clear. Great. Nice. So go and revise all these things. Okay, I will be providing you notes on your Telegram group. Sir, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Product table. Yes, you must have product table. You must have product table, and start looking at the product table and try to remember few elements. Okay, and try to understand what is the difference between metals and non-metal. Where are metals put? Where are metal present in the product table? And so what is, see, you have to contact management group. They will be telling you the Telegram group, right? Okay, beta. There is a Telegram group. You have to contact the management. Okay. Yes, you have to remember. Anyhow, you remember, and at least for first 20-30, you remember their atomic number. Atomic number is more important. No issues. You will be okay. Learn it anyhow. Learn it in column or in rows. Okay, fine. Let's finish this class, and we will be meeting tomorrow. Okay, fine. Thank you so much. I will be telling in next class. Solute and solvent. I will be repeating it in next class. Okay, fine. Okay, guys. Bye.